26, 2020 at 9 a.m. Board members will attend either in person, by telephone, or remotely via electronic conference. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? And Supervisor Simmons, can you please lead us?
Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll do the call to the public. Call to the public is held for public benefit to allow individuals to address issues within the board's jurisdiction. Board members may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to Arizona Revised Statute 38-431.01, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to criticism, or rescheduling the matter for further discussion and decision at a future date. Anyone who is concerned about COVID-19 and does not want to be put into an open setting can submit an email, call to the public, statement at public comment at yumacountyaz.gov. These email forms of public comment will be accepted until 8 a.m. the morning of the meeting. All public comments will be read out loud during the Yuma County Board of Supervisors meeting that starts at 9 a.m. Any comments? Do we have anybody here that I'll leave the call to the public open to the end. So we'll move on to presentations and proclamations and appointments. Is there any?
We have a proclamation.
Proclamation?
We have one right here.
Oh, well, it goes after the county line.
Goes after the county.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, I see. It's pre-trial probation.
Item number 1, presentation of Yuma County Night.
A hotline is now in place and operators are ready to answer your questions you may have regarding face coverings. Schools may be returning soon. Are your child's immunization shots up to date? And the Recorders and Elections offices offer safe ways to vote while social distancing during the upcoming elections. These stories and more, this is your County Line. Friday, March 20th was the day Yuma County became involved in the current coronavirus emergency gripping the nation. Even in the early days, doctors, researchers, and scientists were trying to understand exactly how COVID-19 works and is transmitted. Now, just over 3 months later, we know far more and have improved on relaying the precautions needed to minimize the opportunity of you and your loved ones getting infected. When your county government released a proclamation just over 2 weeks ago urging Yuma County residents to wear a face cover, immediately we started getting contacted with many questions to clarify our intent. It was quickly decided a face cover information line, complete with an email address, was needed to help the public get the answers needed so they understood the intent of the proclamation.
The information line and the email address were put together because we realized there's a lot of questions out there that the general public had about wearing the mask. And so we wanted to give an opportunity for people to have a place to call so they could feel comfortable wearing the mask out and about and getting those important questions answered, or at least directing them where to get their questions answered.
You can call the Yuma County Face Cover Information Line at 928-373-1180, or you can email them at mask@yumacountyaz.gov. And speaking of COVID-19 and all the complexities that have come with it, don't forget it won't be long until the school season is upon us. It's possible that Yuma County students will be going back to school, potentially in the classroom in some shape or form. While it is yet to be determined, it's an important time for many parents to be thinking about preparing should kids be called back in person. Planning now will be important so you can get your child the shots they need to attend school. Time to check your school-age children's shot records if you haven't updated them recently. Your Yuma County Public Health Services District is currently giving these shots by appointment.
Right now, the immunizations department here at the health department are seeing patients by appointment only from 8 to 11:30 and 1 to 4. And it's important to keep your kids vaccinated to prevent disease, of course.
You can get your child's immunizations up to date, but it's important to know you can't just walk in to get them. There are certain documents needed when you do plan on getting shots. Need shots or more information? Just contact the health district by calling 317-4559. COVID-19 is going to play an important role in how the entire election cycle is run this fall. The Elections Office, in conjunction with the County Recorder, will be announcing the county's plan to allow you to vote during this time of social separation. For years, your county has worked hard to make the election process easier for you during your busy lifestyle, which is actually the best way to remain socially separated while you vote. Ever since the concept of early ballots was brought into existence, more voters than ever are choosing to request a ballot to be mailed to them. You have until July 24th to request an early ballot be sent to your home for the August 4th primary. The Recorder has made this even easier by allowing you to request the ballot online.
Any eligible voter in Yuma County can request a ballot over the phone with our staff by calling the Recorder's office, or they can request the ballot online at the link that we've provided on the county website. Additionally, a voter could join the permanent early voting list by servicearizona.com on the registration link, or call our office for the required form.
If you're a registered voter and want to cast your ballot using an early ballot, just visit the county's website at yumacountyaz.gov/ballot request. Also, stay tuned to your county line. We'll be bringing you important information about arrangements for in-person voting to keep you safe during these times, along with the locations of our vote centers.
I'm Elia Juarez, and this is your library update. In February of 2021, our library district will be celebrating 100 years of service to the community, and we need your help to make it happen. First off, we are hosting a bookmark contest. Basically, we're asking the community to design a bookmark featuring our mascot, Booker Bear. Then send it in to us, and we will have an impartial jury vote on our favorite ones for each category, and then we'll make them up professionally and hand those out as our official Centennial bookmarks. In addition to that, we want to hear your library story. We'd love it if you would take some time and make a short recording or write up a short paragraph about your favorite memory of any of the Yuma County Library District branches. Information for the Bookmark contest and the Tell Us Your Story drive is all on yumalibrary.org. And also, for more updates on our Centennial events, don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, and Facebook.
Before we head out, an important deadline we hope you're aware of that is not county government related. The Internal Revenue Service extended the deadline to pay your taxes to Wednesday, July 15th. If you feel you still don't have enough time to file by July 15th, you can file an extension giving you until October 15th to do your filing. Just visit the IRS website at www.irs.gov. And finally, the same rule applies for your Arizona state tax deadline. Wednesday, July 15th is your deadline as well. We'd like to thank you for joining us for this county line. If you'd like to watch past episodes, log on to yumacountyaz.gov/VOD. And don't forget, you can join us live on Facebook. We'll see you next time.
We'll move on to item number 2. Chairman proclaims the week of July 19, 2020 as pretrial probation parole supervision week, and we'll have Supervisor Simmons read the proclamation.
Proclaiming the week of July 19th, 2020 pretrial probation parole supervision week.
Whereas community corrections is an essential part of the justice system, and whereas community corrections professionals uphold the law with dignity while recognizing the rights of public to be safeguarded from criminal activity, and whereas the community corrections professionals are trained professionals responsible for supervising adult and juvenile offenders in the community, and whereas community corrections professionals work in partnership with community agencies and groups, and whereas community corrections professionals provide services, support, and protection for victims and advocate community and restorative justice, and whereas community corrections professionals are a true force for positive change in their communities. And now, therefore, I, Marco A. Tony Reyes, Chairman of the Yuma County Board of Supervisors, hereby proclaim the week of July 19th, 2020 to be pretrial probation, parole, and supervision week.
Thank you, Darren. Go ahead.
Mike Bird, Yuma County Adult Probation. Very much appreciate the recognition for the work that we do. It is difficult work. The focus that we have is changing the behavior of the citizens in our community that have found their way into the criminal justice system. Some of those folks have had years of negative choices that have led them into the criminal justice system that take some time to try and to change those behaviors and get them back on the right track. Excuse me. I'm very happy today to hear about the proclamation for the week. It's an unfortunate year for us to, try and hold celebrations and do things where we ordinarily would gather and have a good time celebrating one another and the hard work that we do. So we're going to try our best and give our staff the recognition that they deserve. One of the things that I'd like to share with the board today is just I have an employee who was a former probation of ours that has changed her life significantly, and I've actually hired her as a substance abuse counselor, and she's been with us a couple years, and this year she was selected by the chiefs and the directors throughout the state to be the Employee of the Year. So probation does work. Our folks that come into this system, it's not a life sentence. There is a way out, and we work hard to help folks change those behaviors and reach that milestone of removing themselves from the criminal justice system and living a life that we all deserve. So thank you guys for all of your support all the time. I surely appreciate it, and so does my staff.
Well,
thank you.
Thank you, Mike, and all your staff for doing, especially at this time when your staff visits homes or checks up on the parolees, and I mean it's I bet it's hard, and so really thanks for all the work that you guys do.
Thank you. Absolutely, we haven't stopped through all of COVID. We take our personal protective equipment and we still go out to homes and we still see folks and still try and do as best we can with the circumstances that we're dealt. And it's not ideal, but we're making the best of a situation that all of us are having to deal with. Good job, bud.
Thank you, Mike.
Moving on to consent calendar. The following items listed under the consent agenda will be considered as a group and acted upon by one motion with no separate discussion unless a board member so requests. In that event, that item will be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action. Is there any? Yes, go ahead.
I'd like to pull 4 and 9.
Do I hear a motion to approve consent calendar items 1 to 14, excluding 4 and 9?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve items 1 to 14, excluding 4 and 9. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 4.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to recognize the county and for working with the town of Welton to help them get this equipment, because I know right now they're hurting money-wise. and this goes a long ways to helping them get some equipment that they need and at a good price, and it helps them out. So I mainly just want to recognize them on that. So, and with that, I'll recommend approval of item 4.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second to approve item, consent calendar, item number 4.
We do a roll call, it has to be by unanimous consent.
Okay. Okay. Roll call.
Is it okay there's a missing supervisor?
Unanimous by the votes cast, I suppose. You're okay. Otherwise, we'll bring it back next meeting. I think you're okay.
Thank you.
Supervisor Simmons,
Aye.
Supervisor Pancrazzi,
May I explain my vote? You know, this equipment is still really good if it's not used as hard and as much as the county uses their equipment. And so the town of Welton, this equipment is still very vital for them to be able to provide for their residents. And so I'm glad you can talk about it. And with that, I vote aye.
Supervisor McLeod,
Aye.
Supervisor Porches.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. Consent calendar item number 9.
I saw Superintendent Tyree was here. Do we have an idea what this is going to cost the taxpayers out there as far as each one? Because I know I'm going to get calls on it.
Thank you, Terry.
Yeah, Board of Supervisors, excuse me. Good to be with you this morning, and I anticipated that might be a concern. We're able to provide you information with respect to what the total amount of cost to the taxpayer is going to be, because there's a deficit that the school districts of Hyder, Antelope, as well as the Southwest Technical Education District of Yuma are going to incur as a result of that. First of all, to back up, the Agua Caliente solar plant that's located out in East County went to the Board of State Board of Equalization, claiming that in essence they were paying too much tax money, and the board granted their appeal, and then as a result of them paying less tax, that means the taxpayers end up paying more. In fact, I think Yuma County had the same situation occur last year. There was money that the county itself had to pay back as a result of the same action. So the result of that is that the Hyder School District will have to come up or be taxed an additional $738,601.25. The Antelope Union High School District will have to pay an additional tax of the residents of $647,133.96. And then the Southwest Technical Education District, Yuma, will pay $14,030.73. The actual tax rate itself is still to be determined. Carolyn needs some additional information. Once she has that, she will then provide to the residents of those school districts what that additional tax will be that they'll have to pay.
What's the time frame over okay, they approve the tax. What is the time frame? Is this over 10 years, over 20 years is having this paid back? Is it 1 year?
Yeah.
Huh?
No way.
No, you're talking
No.
small communities.
I have the same question, Darren.
Well,
that can't be. That's outrageous.
It would appear to me, first of all, I think there's some money that has to be made up because it went back for the years of 2016, 2017. Okay, so that money will need to be paid. They'll have to make up the difference, if I'm understanding your question. And from then on, the other thing that will happen though is because they meaning the Agua Caliente solar plant will be contributing less money. That means the taxpayers will have to continue to pay more.
And just for clarification, this is 4 years of tax corrections, and they actually have to be paid immediately. So those refunds will go to Agua Caliente immediately to repay the last 4 years of taxes. So it is a loss immediately, as well as future revenue reduction. That's exactly what the county.
I'm sorry, it was the tax years 2016 through 2019. Thank you for the correction. Yes.
Go ahead.
Was that ordered by the court that it has to be paid immediately?
That's why you remember us, the county getting hit for about $1 million with various solar companies that we had to refund for the past 4 years, and it was.
But that wasn't
it was
such
immediate.
an issue for us. This,
Yeah.
It
I don't
is a
even know
big
how.
issue, actually.
I don't know how these districts are going to afford that. That's an incredible sum of money. I mean, how many properties are in these districts, roughly?
I'm sorry, say
How many
again?
properties are in this district, roughly?
Properties, are you just talking about the Agua Caliente properties or?
No.
I'm
Hyder
sorry,
School
I
District.
don't know that
How many
information.
people live out there that are being taxed? Right?
You know what, I think that's probably a question you might want to ask Mr. Worley or somebody. I don't have that information.
Mr. Vice Chairman, I'm not comfortable proceeding with this until we figure something out. I mean, just off the cuff, you're talking thousands of dollars per household in 1 year. That's untenable.
You're
We've
talking
got to
about
have a better plan.
You know what, I think to some degree you're kind of preaching to the choir, but the fact of the matter is they appealed it to the State Board of Equalization. That was their determination. And
Yeah, but we have to have a plan.
Well,
This doesn't work. We need a plan. What are we going to do?
That's something then that I think you guys, as a Board of Supervisors, then can, or if you wish, look into. Okay.
Well, this is something I think, like Supervisor McClough saying, we need to take it back to the Board of Equalization and get them to realize, okay, this is going to happen. It can't happen in 1 year. I mean, like I said, you're talking very low income families out in this area.
Carolyn, I can address that a little bit.
Go ahead, Gary.
This statute is the only statute that will allow school districts to recoup a cash deficit. And yes, it's in this 1 year. I don't know that we could, I mean, I calculate tax rates. I don't know if I can do it over a 10-year period. Each year, you Board of Supervisors would have to approve it, which is easily doing. But you have to remember that once the treasurer paid that check to the solar plants, as of right now, you've got Hyder and Antelope specifically registering warrants. So they have negative cash, and they will until probably October, November, when the first big tax payment comes in. So now they're going to be out additional monies. So registering warrants, I'm sure you understand the treasurer, yeah, right. So this is the only way that they can recoup their money. I won't get the school district's adopted budgets probably until this week, so I haven't been able to calculate a preliminary tax rate yet. And then that all has to go to the Arizona Department of Revenue to finalize also. They approve that tax rate before it comes to you.
Mr. Vice Chairman.
Go ahead.
As this is written, it says approve a rate that would result in a levy that equals any cash deficit from the prior fiscal year, blah, 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 blah. So that means we would just be handing you carte blanche. You're going to set a rate no matter what that does to the residents. And we can't allow that.
Oh.
I mean, there has to be a plan. I have some ideas. I'm not going to discuss them now. I'll discuss them with the county administrator, but you cannot go and charge these folks $2,000, $3,000, or $4,000 each on their properties or more. We're talking $1.4 million at a glance. Yes, 1.4 million. 1.4 million. And what is there? 1,400 properties. 2,800 properties. We have no idea.
You also,
Desiree?
you also need to realize because the solar plant came in, their rates have been, their assessed value, of course, has been generating enough tax revenue. So the
I know
taxpayers,
exactly what you're saying.
okay, the
They've
taxpayers
benefited till
have
now.
not been paying as much as they would have been, which
Do you
is
believe for
still
a
not
moment
fair. I
that they've been
understand.
putting it in a savings account just in case?
No.
Of course not.
But, this was the only thing that we could help our school districts with by law, by
Mr. Vice
statute.
Chairman?
Go ahead. What?
I'm sorry, Lynn. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Lynn.
What does this do to your schedule if we table this and pick it up at the next meeting? What does that do for the school?
I have to have my preliminary tax rates to the Arizona Department of Revenue by July 20th. And I cannot add this deficit, I cannot add this factor to their tax rate unless it was approved by the Board of Supervisors, which is why I came today. In years past, when we did, years ago, when we did calculate tax rates, we were able to adjust the tax rate by cash balance, whether it was a deficit, positive, the tax rate was adjusted. Somebody changed the law, said that we can't do that. There's only certain reasons why you can add a cash deficit. Or like cash does not come into play when calculating tax rates anymore. So this is the only way. It should, because there's some districts that might have a surplus and that would lower the tax rate, but they no longer do that. The Property Tax Oversight Committee, I think, did this legislation about 3 or 4 years ago.
Mr. Vice Chairman?
I was gonna ask Susan or legal, any recommendations? I mean, if it needs to be in by the 20th or.
Next meeting's the
I
27th.
think the issue is going to be, and correct me if you don't agree, that your schools are going to have a cash deficit come school year unless you levy these, because they're going to have to pay it.
They already do right now.
Yeah, so this is to correct a cash deficit. We saw it happen before, when maybe an insurance company goes insolvent and then there's a big judgment against the school. We did that a long time ago. And what happens, these schools, they incur some type of liability. In this case, it was through the Board of Equalization through the state, and now they have a huge cash deficit, and they're trying to open up for school.
I have a legal question. Can we go to executive? Seriously?
You could, to ask legal questions.
Yeah.
Or you could, you know what, you could delay this to the end, and we can do that at the end.
Okay.
That way you can get through these folks' things.
That would be fine with
That'd
me.
be fine? Yeah.
That's fine with me.
Okay.
What, do you need us to be a part of that, or is that just the supervisor?
I'd recommend you guys probably be available. Wouldn't necessarily have to be here.
Okay, all right. Well, and let me just say this as just a general comment, is that, we appreciate and are in sympathy with what your feelings are, which is the plight of the taxpayers out in East County. And, but in this particular situation, we're just doing what the law says that we have to do in order to take care of that. If there's anything that we can do to assist in your deliberations, we're happy to do that. But
well, I'm thinking you might just have to spend.
Probably, if you could find a solution, that mitigates, what their burden is, then obviously we would be happy about that. But I'm going to guess that it is kind of what it is, as they say.
Well, if we don't follow the law, you can just spend a few months in jail and.
That's not what's going to happen. Excuse me. If you don't do this levy and they don't find the money, they're going to operate with this cash deficit.
Yeah, I understand.
So, I mean.
Is there any way we could set it up so that the taxpayers pay a portion of it every year for the next 5 years? Is that a possibility or not?
Well, that's something we can discuss.
That's why we're going to executive.
Executive session, so we'll go ahead
so. Susan, could you have somebody contact Mr. Worley and get the answer to how many properties are in?
So we'll go ahead, thank you,
Okay,
Tom.
we'll be available.
And we'll move this item to the end.
Happy to walk back down. We
Thanks,
need
Tom.
the exercise, okay?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to discussion and action items. Oh, yes.
So the public's aware, we're going to delay this item to the end, and then if you decide to go in executive session for purposes of legal questions.
Yeah, so and we'll move item number 9 from the consent calendar to the end, and we'll go to executive session.
I do need to clarify, if we go into executive session, it will only be Q&A to me and my staff. We cannot go into full discussions about other ideas, except as it relates to the questions. It's not an item that's been placed on the agenda for other reasons except to go into executive session to seek legal advice.
Yeah.
It's sort of there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
So,
It's I've definitely got legal questions.
and we
I
don't.
wouldn't try to pull a fast one on
We
you.
may not have answers to them right away,
Mhm.
but at least I can see what I can get for you.
And we won't vote, just for information, we won't vote till we come out of executive session, and in a public setting, we'll make a decision if we vote or move it at a further date, so. Okay, moving on to discussion and action items. Item number 1, discussion and possible action regarding the following legislative items. Item A, report to the Board of Supervisors regarding proposed bills in the Arizona State Legislative with impacts to Yuma County. And B, item B, update regarding strategies relating to federal legislative priorities. Paul?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Paul Melcher, Director of Economic Development and Intergovernmental Affairs. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, first I'd like to provide 2 updates on federal items. The first one is the ozone state implementation plan that we've been working on. On July 1st, ADQ hosted a state implementation plan public hearing for the Yuma non-attainment area for ozone. There were a limited number of comments that we received at the time. Yuma County submitted some comments, but nothing in terms of some of the technical capacities. We were very happy with how the SIP has moved forward through the approval process. Just to give you a reminder that as we've moved forward in developing the SIP from our area, this has also been in conjunction with EPA at the same time. ADQ has taken a little bit different tact. Instead of just trying to create programs and plans and submitting them to EPA for review and then getting those comments back, they've been working in concert with EPA at the same time. So as they proposed elements of the SIP, EPA has been able to review those, make comments, so they've been moving concurrently. So that's been very productive in getting the process forward. I wanted to provide the board the update that based on the comments that ADQ received at their July 1st meeting, they'll be moving forward to develop and finalize the draft SIP to submit to EPA at the end of July or the beginning of August, somewhere around that time frame. What that does for us is actually set us up pretty well. One of the follow-up aspects of this, it's great that we have the SIP done and would be submitted to EPA. Once it's formally submitted, the last part of that is tracking the 180-day comment period for EPA. Last we learned during our PM10 process was that EPA had received it, didn't act on it within 180 days, and then that SIP proposal had died for lack of action. So this time, as soon as that hits, we want to start counting off and taking off the 180 days in anticipation that as it gets to the end, reminders would be sent to EPA that there has to be some kind of action taken on it. The other good aspect of this is Yuma in the non-attainment area has had 2 good years of readings, and we're looking for a third. So if we can have a third year of good readings, and we're almost through this reading period, it'll be at the end of September, October, then we can also apply for reinstatement as an attainment area for ozone. So just keep your fingers crossed for a continued mild monsoon season through the rest of September, October. And then the other aspect that we have that will help secure that future is then getting the ADAPT Act. Going back, I know we've been working on the ADAPT Act several years. We've been talking about traction, but I think with all the COVID-related discussions, it's an election year. There just isn't a lot of traction out there to get that out of the floor of the House. The Senate, there would be a little bit more traction, but the House is going to be the difficult part of that. So just to give you a generalized update that, in short, since we've moved forward, we've had the public hearing, a submittal date for the SIP around late July, early August. 180 days would pass, so you're looking close toward the end of 2020, beginning of 2021 for that state implementation plan to take in effect, considering that EPA takes all of that 180 days to take action. If they take action sooner, then it would become in effect sooner. So, Mr. Chair, members of the board, I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Mr. Vice
Go ahead.
Paul, I just want to thank you for all the work that you've done, and for the Yuma County Farm Bureau, who have been working on this for a huge number of years as well. So thank you both. You've done a really lot of work on this. Thank you so much, and I'm excited that it's getting close to the, yay, it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
That's why I have my fingers crossed. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank
Because
you.
you're right, this started back in 2015 when we first got the notice that EPA had changed the emission standards from 75 to 70, and that put us in that predicament. So, yeah, thank you very much. Mr. Chair, the other item I wanted to bring to the board for an update today is on biosolids. Supervisor McLeod had asked a general question regarding biosolids to see if there was a way or to get some background information on the possibility of submitting a proposal to CSA to deal with biosolids, either the restriction of bringing in there or just to get at least the background information started. And I wanted to give the Environmental Programs Manager, George Amaya, the credit for coming up with all the information that I'm going to provide you today. He really did the heavy lifting on conducting the interviews, doing the research to get this to you. So one of the considerations that we initially reviewed was, are there treatment protocols that would allow biosolids to be treated at a lesser standard and brought into Arizona? And was that the reason why they were being brought here? And in fact, no, the case is that those treatments, it's either the highest or the second highest class, just like it is in Arizona. In California, those treatment centers still have to conform with the Clean Water Act and with their own regulations regarding the treatment of wastewater. So that wasn't the issue. So what it really comes down to is that from several segments in the California regulations makes it more conducive to bringing biosolids and excuse me, not septage. Sewage sludge, thank you, excuse me. Yes, it made it more conducive to bring that over. And the first one being that California landfills are only allowed to accept a certain amount of biosolids and treated sludge. So once that's capped off, then it becomes just one of those things that it has to be factored into the cost of doing business as then it's brought over or into other areas. As you might recall, in 2018 when we had this discussion, Mojave County and their landfill also accepts biosolids and treated sludge from California. So that was another one of the considerations. The other aspect of it is in the tipping fees to those landfills in California where they're taking the biosolids and treated sludge also is more expensive, up to 33% higher in terms of the tipping fee. So there is a financial element too that makes it cost practical to bring some of those wastes into Arizona. Now the other follow-up that I wanted to provide for you was that the county administrator had sent that letter requesting or checking into the ag tech acquisition of the 6,000 acres. That occurred on June 8th. There was also a follow-up email asking on July 1st to see what the status of that was, because after the public hearing, there wasn't clear if there would be a method of receiving comments or any protests. And it was also a request to make the determination, is this a new application? Is this an existing purchase of properties that already have a biosolid or sewage effluent injection system into it already? So that we wanted to know if this constitutes a new operation in Yuma County. We haven't had any updates to this point. So Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I just wanted to update you on the progress, the status, and to see if you had any additional questions.
Mr. Vice Chair, Isn't it a fact that our requirements are a lot less than what California does? And so it's easier for them to bring it over here than it is to take care of their own waste?
And that's what we had originally had wanted to make sure it was, but in fact, it's not. Their treatment standards are just as high or higher than Arizona standards. So there's no incentive for them to treat their waste at a lesser standard. They have to comply with both the Clean Water Act and California standards.
Mr. Vice Chair, then why can't they take care of it themselves and build more landfills or whatever they need to dispose of their own waste?
Less expensive to come here.
Supervisor Pancrase, I think that's a really good question. And I would also say one of the things that we want as a follow-up, ADQ is supposed to submit a review of the permit for these properties that would include an analysis of how much septage is going in. So what's cleaned out of septic tanks and portable potties and all those things, because it's unclear at this point if that was included in the original permit. And if that's less treated than all the other forms of waste, then that might be something to look at in terms of if those original permits don't allow that, then it needs to go back to the landfills because the landfills have a way of treating that and incorporating it into the landfill that's probably at a higher level of treatment than would be happening on the ag tech properties. So that is another pending question now.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, and Paul, I have one more question. ADEQ gets paid for this sludge coming into Arizona. We don't, correct?
Supervisor Pancrase, I'm not sure exactly how what that financial benefit is. If ADQs get paying, I've never heard that we receive any fees, so.
Thank you. I just wanted to comment what generated the question was that 6,000 acres in South County, and you cannot grow produce on land that is accepting this kind of waste. There's 6,000 acres in Yuma County taken out of vegetable production. That was my concern. I want to thank you and Georgia Maya for the good work you did on that. Years ago, I was told that the reason they brought it in was, as Supervisor Pancrase asked, if they don't have to treat it to such a high standard if they bring it here. And I understand that your research indicates that's not the case. It's just simply less expensive. If our farmers will accept the waste, it's a lot less expensive. And the tipping fees are probably less. And they can only accept so much in their landfills. So yeah, they'd have to build new landfills. That's incredibly expensive. So it's all a matter of economics. And we cannot prohibit interstate commerce. You know, there's just no way for us to say we won't accept it. There's nothing that can be done. So as long as there are willing partners that say we'll take it, that's how it is. So the original thought was to run legislation that said if it comes into Arizona, it has to be treated to the standard of the state from which it was generated. Seemed like a good idea, but it didn't pan out. But I appreciate the great work that you and George did on that. It makes it clear. You know, our hands are very much tied.
Well, I think from that aspect it is, but I think the other component of that, we are very eagerly awaiting that ADQ report to see what the septage impact is. And I think that's an important element of that.
Look forward to hearing.
Yeah, it's for the same reasons if the septage isn't being taken to the landfills anymore and it's part of that ag operation, then what is the consideration for treatment, those things that would have to occur because it's a lot less treated, so.
The septage can go into the landfill, correct?
Excuse me? Sir.
The septage treated to a lower standard can go to the landfill.
Oh, it does, yes, that's where it had been going until
goes,
the
yeah,
ag tech
theoretically.
application. And then there's been a shift a little bit away from the landfills toward that ag tech because again of cost. So yes, if the septage, if it turns out septage isn't part of that original ADQ permit, then it needs to go back to the landfills.
I'm not sure though too. I think like out east, there's some land that's.
Oh, there is.
And the district is not allowed to water. They can't provide water to anything that's got that refuge on it. I don't know if it's the same for Yuma Mesa or the Yuma Irrigation District.
I hadn't heard that.
But I know out east, the district won't supply water to anything that's got human or sewage as far as fertilizer.
Well, you know, just some comments. We went through this. If that solid waste was being, how much was it being tested, or without having all kinds of things that we're bringing it to Arizona, especially here, Yuma County. Almost every year we've had issues with flies, and I know Somerton and San Luis, and even parts of Yuma, and so we did I know Diana did a lot of work on it, and you did too, Paul, and we find Lynn when you were senator there, and you gotta ask yourself till, it's cheap for them to California bring it over here, but to what point? How much of it are we gonna be taking, especially in areas where it's very close to communities, that it's, I think something needs to be done. We can't get to the point that just because they say, well, they no longer accept it in California, let's go dump all that to Arizona. So I think it's just, we need to really start looking into it, because 10, 15, 20 years from now, we might be getting all of it.
Yeah.
And that's just not.
Well, yeah.
There's not much farming up in the mesa, but there is. Pretty close to the landfill. We have a lot of dates, and they employ a lot of people. So we say we got to ask ourselves till when? When is it enough?
Yeah, I don't know, Martine. As long as there's a willing landowner, it's pretty tough.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like a good idea. Paul and I talked about it. It's like, wow, this is a way to stop it, right, or slow it down. But
well, I think either several things about it that maybe if the state is getting a fee, why shouldn't Yuma County be getting a fee?
There you go.
So we start putting in, hidden in their pockets, and I guarantee you pretty soon they'll say it's cheaper to dump it in our own state than take it to Arizona.
Well, the problem we run into, I think, is the fact we're right on the state line. So yeah, it's cheaper to come to Yuma or La Paz, because
go to Pima County,
jump across, unload it, and make your money and go.
So I think just to keep that in mind and see what can we do to. I don't mind taking some, but
not only, Mr. Vice Chair, Paul, not only the problem with the flies. Oh, they are just horrendous.
The smell.
In different areas near where the crops are, but also the landfills. They're horrendous. But also our water table. We have a pretty high water table, and I don't want to see any of that stuff get put into our water. So that's a concern I have.
Mr. Vice Chair, how about if I would propose this to the board, the possibility of having some kind of local fee or something. I'll check in to see what ADQ receives in terms of permitting fees, or if there's a fee per tonnage or something based on that, and then I'll report back to the board.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Item number 2, Public Health Services District discussion and possible action regarding COVID updates and activities. Anna?
Good morning, Director. Thank you.
Good morning.
Gomez, Health Services Director, just giving you some updates, and would be happy to answer some questions. So to date, we have administered in Yuma County 39,594 tests. So those are tests administered. Of those, we have 7,431 that have come back positive. Unfortunately, we've had 114 deaths in our community as a result. And again, we get this question about deaths all the time, so I just want to confirm that those decisions are made based on the diagnosis, and they're confirmed through vital statistics data. So unfortunately, that's the number. We're seeing a significant increase over the last several weeks. We had the 2 primary modes of testing, as you know, again, are the serology testing, which is the blood test that tests for antibodies, as well as the PCR testing, which is what is used to test for active infection. So obviously the majority of our tests that we're doing here is the PCR testing. So our priority as a local health department continues to be to procure additional testing supplies, work with our state partners to make sure that those supplies make it here to Arizona so that we can sustain here in Yuma County consistent testing and enhance the testing opportunities locally. The other issue that has come up throughout the state is the turnaround time for getting results, that we are working with our state partners in that. Sonora Quest, which is the largest provider of tests, procured additional machinery and working with the state health department. I was in a meeting last week and they confirmed that they've gotten additional equipment. So hopefully those turnaround times will improve. We are still one of the largest providers of PPE, personal protective equipment in the county. We continue to do that. We continue to shore up our clinical providers, our healthcare clinics. That is a priority. Our first responders, we want to make sure that they have the resources, the protective equipment that they need to make sure they can do their job safely. So many of you have heard that last week, Arizona implemented or adopted, hospitals across Arizona, the crisis standards of care. And so what that means is, this provided a standardized framework across Arizona. It's standardized protocol to ensure that all patients get the same care. Crisis standards of care are exactly what that sounds like. They are protocol that are instituted during crisis periods of time. It's basically a triaging protocol, decision-making protocol within the healthcare system that is meant to help make decisions on how to allocate resources, space. It allows, for example, the expansion of floors where normally you wouldn't use a floor, maybe the allocation of equipment. Primarily, it activates the standards of care statewide, the order did. It allows hospitals to continue to prepare for that surge. A lot of those hospitals are currently at 85-90% capacity. It limits surgeries to just the essential surgeries. And I think it's important to acknowledge that while this pandemic is happening and continuing to affect us all, there are still those people that need the regular care. There's all those people that need those surgeries. And so this is really impacting that. And unfortunately, some of these will have to be delayed unless they are essential. But having these standards in place allows for some decision making around that for the hospitals. It also establishes an incident command center, or ICS, which many of you are familiar with because you've gone to that training. So incident command within the hospitals. It also dictates and encourages hospitals, local hospitals, to establish ongoing dialogue with their local health jurisdiction. So again, in the state, and again with us with local health. We have one hospital here, Yuma Regional Medical Center, and the staff there has been working hard to take care of patients since the very beginning of the pandemic. If you saw the numbers yesterday, you saw that they had 147 in the hospital and 147, yes, hospitalized for COVID patients in there. And then they were using 24 ventilators. There was people in ICU, 35 people in ICU. The staff there has been working really, really hard to take care of patients. COVID patients require an additional level of care. It is very labor intensive. In order to shore up and help support the efforts there, we worked with the state health department a couple weeks ago. I think I told you about the surge line, which provided them the ability to transfer patients to other facilities so they would not be overwhelmed. The surge line is still active. However, the focus has now shifted to making sure we can support local operations. As other hospitals in the state move towards that surge capacity threshold, we have to focus on supporting our ability to provide care locally. And so what that meant was working with state health officials. We had a team of federal healthcare workers. It was a small team of 20 people, nurses, respiratory therapists that came in and were on the ground last week to help provide a little bit of breathing room to the staff that's just, I imagine, very tired and exhausted and have been doing their very best to care for our patients. This weekend, we worked with the state again, and there's another team that arrived yesterday, a small team again, that's gonna be able to provide some support to the staff there. So again, this is about increasing. We have to do our very best locally to make sure that we can respond to those surges moving forward. Now, there's an alternative care site in Arizona. There's been a lot of talk about alternative care sites like field hospitals. Right now, one of the state designated ones is St. Luke's Hospital. And so if we had to transfer patients again, St. Luke's Hospital is an option. They have, I think, 339 ICU capacity beds. And so again, the issue for most people is not the space. It is the resources, it is the staffing. Staff everywhere else that provides direct clinical care is exhausted, they're tired. Again, you know, the care that's required of a COVID patient, and they're in the hospital a lot longer. You see people go through, they improve, and then their symptoms get worse. So it's a physically and emotionally daunting experience for both the patient, the family, and of course their family. So again, our focus will continue to be on supporting our local efforts. I also wanted to let you know that the bars were closed, the gyms, movie theaters, those were delayed for 30 days. We asked people to please, we realize that some people may not agree with that. We understand, but if you're going out there and you're leaving your house and you're visiting a business or anything else, please take those precautions that are necessary. Like wearing the mask, the social distancing. If the establishment has those rules in place, please support the establishment by following their rules. That is important. Again, this is about trying to flatten the curve, trying to give those people that are providing that critical care a chance to catch their breath. We want everybody who gets sick to be able to get the care that they need and the care that they deserve. But if everybody gets sick at the same time, we have no way to account for I guess, complications. This is not, people that are elderly, people that are over 65 have a higher risk, but this is not an age-related disease. If you look at our rate of infection, it impacts across the spectrum. So please, for example, today we're all wearing our masks. We wear our masks for somebody else because we don't know if we're asymptomatic. We're trying to protect those other people so that when people do get sick and they do have those complications that require going to the hospital, the staff there has the space and the resources needed to take care of them properly. So again, just a reminder for people, if you have symptoms and you went to go get tested and you have symptoms, you have not gotten your test results, follow the guidance for somebody that's tested positive. If you have symptoms, you're more likely positive. If you have no symptoms and are waiting your results, and there's a delay and you haven't received them, please follow the precautions, at least wearing a face covering, limiting your exposure to other people. There's no immediate need to isolate, but you should be monitoring yourself for symptoms. If you tested positive and you have symptoms, you need to please self-isolate, and you need to do that for at least 10 days. And you can only be released from isolation after those 10 days and 72 hours without symptoms. So 3 days after your symptoms have subsided, including, for example, fever, without the aid of any medication. If you have no symptoms and tested positive, again, we know that people can be asymptomatic. So in that case, you follow the guidance that you would if you were, positive with symptoms, which is to stay home. And this is really, really important. We know that there is heightened community spread. Every time I come up here, I want to tell you that we hit our peak. If people help us by just following those precautions, that is critical. That is the only way we're going to get a handle on this. I realize that it's hard. We're all tired of these mitigation strategies. We're all tired of these mitigation strategies, but the virus doesn't care. And it's just right now, it's just about taking a pause and helping slow down the spread by doing anything we can. And those are simple steps. We continue to contact trace. So please, if we call you, please pick up the phone. Please answer our call. Please return our call. Please provide when you go get tested at any event, whether it's a Blitz or one of the available clinics that are offering that stand-up testing. Please provide your information. Please provide accurate information so that we can call you. We've shared the guidance before, so everybody knows the guidance. We all have to be in this together. I don't want to say a little longer because we don't know really in reality, but I think it's just going to require a concerted effort, and I'm looking forward to coming back here and telling you that we're seeing a decline, and I look forward to that day. But until that happens, my plea is just please hang in there a little longer. Please help us by following these mitigation strategies. Stay home if you're sick, wash your hands, adhere to social distancing. In absence of a vaccine, in absence of herd immunity, we are all susceptible, every one of us, and we can all A, catch it, or B, spread it. So please just help us, help keep our community safe. And to all the health care workers, frontline people, first responders, thank you for your continued work and your continued sacrifice to making sure that our community gets the best care they get. And for the businesses, thank you for your patience, and thank you for everybody that's been proactive about instituting these protocols to keep their patrons safe. And thank you for everybody that's reached out to us to ask what they can do to ensure the safety of their workers and the public that they serve. Do you have any questions I can answer?
Any questions? Go ahead.
Diana, you might explain for the public, if you've tested positive and staying home, that's just not enough if there are other people in the home.
Correct.
You need to, well, I'll let you explain it.
So obviously if you're sharing a house with somebody else, a lot of times we record the positive case. A lot of times people in the household may come down with the disease, and so those people are not tested. They're not counted in the count, but they do get sick, so they follow the same precaution. If you are at home and you want to take those precautions to not make the people around you sick. So you probably want to, make sure you don't share things like towels. Make sure that you self-isolate if that's possible. Make sure you don't use, a cup or anything that can be transmitted. It's primarily person-to-person spread. We know that it's droplet-based, but again, contact, with surfaces. So we ask you to wash or clean or disinfect frequently touched surfaces, because that's going to play a very critical role. And a lot of times, it spreads in the house because you're in close proximity and close contact. So if you're caring for somebody who's sick, also take those precautions. Make sure that, you help sanitize, make sure you're not sharing personal items, make sure that you're laundering things like linens. All those things are important to control the spread of the infection.
If you're lucky enough to have two bathrooms.
Yes. And we realize that that's not
just one, and it's not
we realize
possible,
that's
but
not
if
an
it is.
option for people.
Right.
So we ask people to just do the best you can, and you never know. But I mean, following these precautions minimizes the guarantee. I wish there was one thing you can do that just heightened the chances, but it's honestly a combination, a layered approach, like the social distancing and the wearing of the mask, the frequent disinfection, things of that nature.
Diane? Just had a question. I know the national media is reporting that there's a big drop-off in people coming to the ER. Do you know what what effect it's had on it?
So people are scared to come to the emergency room. They're afraid that they're going to contract the virus while they're in the emergency room. Again, our hospital, all hospitals work really hard to manage their infection control. They have policies in place. We don't want people to delay any critical care. If you're having symptoms, if you think you're having some sort of medical crisis, please seek the care you need. Those protocols are in place. Please wear your face covering. They have a triaging system. They have an infection control policy. We don't want people to delay care. And to your point, that is very important, because we have to remember that all the issues we had before are still there. And so we need to continue to take care of people and make sure that everybody gets the care that they need. So please don't delay any critical care for fear of that. I assure you that, especially now with the crisis standards of care, it's at a heightened level. Everybody's doing what they can to mitigate the spread, especially healthcare facilities.
Any other questions? Well, thank you, Diana. Thanks for all the work you and your staff are doing. Definitely.
Diana, have we hired some more people to do tracking?
So yes, we have hired some contracted workers that are helping us to do contact tracing. We're still working on that to expand our workforce. And again, that's where my plea to the public goes out. If we call you, please answer the call and let us know, because that information is important. If you're getting tested and you haven't gotten your results and you haven't received a call from the from the site or from us, please follow the precautions that I just gave you, because that'll go a long way to, don't wait for that phone call. And if you have any specific concerns, please call the facility that tested you or refer back to us. We have a phone number for questions specific to that. But yes.
Thank you, Diana.
Thank you.
Moving on to planning and zoning agenda, rezoning consent calendar. The following items will be considered as a group and acted upon by one motion with no separate discussion unless the board member so requests. In that event, the item will be removed from the consent calendar for separation discussion. However, action is statutorily limited to approve the item as recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission or setting the item for public hearing. Item number 1, rezoning case 20-04. Jose M. Tapia, agent for Randy Brown, requests the rezoning of a parcel 4.92 gross acres in size from rural area 5-acre minimum RA-5 to suburban site build 2-acre minimum SSB-2, assessor's parcel number 754-37-003, located on the southwest corner of County 17th Street and Avenue 8 3/4, Somerton, Arizona. And this is, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, if nobody has any questions, I would move that we approve rezoning case number 20-04 as recommended by the Planning Commission.
I'll second it.
There's a motion and a second to recommend approval for rezoning case 20-04. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And that was it didn't need a public hearing, so.
No, that's why it's consent.
Expedited rezoning and public hearing. Item number 1, rezoning case number 20-06. Craig Colvin, agent for Bonnie Swenson, Swallowwood Gen 3 LLC, requests the rezoning of an 11.51 acre portion of a parcel 18.42 net acres in size from recreational vehicle park RVP to recreational vehicle subdivision RVS, assessor's parcel number 700-33-003, located in the vicinity of the southeast corner of Avenue 10E and South Frontage Road, Yuma, Arizona. And this is, we'll have.
Chairman, Javi Barras, Senior Planner. If you have any questions on that one.
I don't know.
Any questions?
I don't think we need to open a public hearing.
Oh, yeah,
Right?
but, well, then
I don't
if
have any
if not, we'll go ahead and open it.
And pull it from guided, yes.
Okay, we'll go ahead and we need a public hearing. We'll open it up to the.
I have a question for the public. Can you tell the public, because we're on the air, the difference between RVP and RVS?
Okay, Mr. Vice Chairman. The RVP is Recreational Vehicle Park Subdivision that allows for, RV parks, and the RVS is Recreational Vehicle Subdivision, which also allow RVs, but on lots, not in spaces.
I think it also allows for permanent ones, like park models, right?
Like park models, yeah, park models, site built, and modified homes, the RVS zoning.
Right.
Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and open up the public hearing, and if anybody from the public that has any comments or concerns. Seeing none, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it up back to the board for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
There's a motion
I'll second.
and a second to approve rezoning case number 20-06. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Rezoning, regular public hearing items. Staff will make a full presentation on each of the following items, followed by separate discussion, public hearing, and action by the Board of Supervisors. Item number 1, minor amendment, case number 20-02. Javier?
Can you open rezoning case 20-07? They're connected, so I'm going to present them both at the
Okay,
same time.
and we'll go ahead and open item number 2, rezoning case number 20-07.
Mr. Vice Chairman, I apologize. Mr. Worley, did you have the information that we requested?
I'm working on it right now.
Oh, you're still working on it? Okay, why don't you let us know and then we can get that from you. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the board. Javier Barraza, Senior Planner, presenting minor amendment case MA 20-02. This is a request to change the land use designation of 2.82 net acres of a parcel, 18.42 gross acres in size, from urban density residential to regional commercial. The project is located in the Foothills planning area, southeast corner of intersection of the alignments of South Frontage Road and Avenue 10E. The intent is to allow the rezoning of those 2.82 net acres from RVP to general commercial. This is the land use map showing the subject portion to be amended, crosshatch and highlighted now. On the northeast, north and northwest and west, the land use is local commercial. And on the southwest, south and southeast and east is urban density residential. The parcel is outlined with a thick dashed line. That's the entire parcel. But only a portion is to be amended. This is the site plan submitted by the applicant. Highlighted is the portion to be amended. This is an aerial view showing the outline in red, the portion to be amended. Parcel is accessed along the South Frontage Road on the north and along 34th Street on the south. This is just a view south of the subject parcel from the front, which is the north. I received no comments from surrounding property owners. The Planning Commission recommends approval of minor amendment MA 20-02 based on the following. The amendment will allow for commercial development that is consistent with and does not negatively impact the existing commercial and residential character of the area. Number 2, the change will allow for consistent zoning and land use development patterns. Number 3, the amendment addresses an oversight, inconsistency, or other land use related inequities, since the current land use designation is intended for residential uses and residencies that are urban in nature. That concludes the minor amendment portion of the presentation. We'll go into rezoning case 20-07. This is the request to rezone the 2.82 net acres of a parcel 18.42 gross acres in size from RVP to general commercial. The intent is to split the parcel for commercial uses. This is the zoning and vicinity map. The portion to be rezoned is crosshatched and highlighted. Parcel number 1 to the west is the location of a business, RV Supplies, and is zoned general commercial. On the west, we have the 10 East subdivision, zone RVS. On the south, there's the Villa Chaparral, number 4 RVS, subdivision zone RVS. Parcel number 8 and 6 to the southeast and east are property zone RVP and are locations of RV parks. Again, this is the same zoning map showing the portion to be rezoned from RVP to general commercial. Same aerial as before. This is a view looking southwest of the subject parcel from the northeast corner, or from the middle of the frontage. Looking southeast of the subject parcel. Looking northeast of the subject parcel from the southwest corner of the portion to be rezoned. No comments received from surrounding property owners, and MCA has no objections to this request. The Planning Commission recommends approval of rezoning case 20-07, subject to the following performance condition. Number 1, within 60 days of approval by the board, the owner or agent shall provide an ARS 12-1134 waiver, record a range disclosure statement, and record a navigation disclosure statement. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this concludes this presentation. Applicant agent is present.
Any questions for Mr. Barraza?
No, makes perfect sense.
Okay, I'll go ahead and thank you, Javier, and I'll go ahead and open it to the public, open up the public hearing. If anybody has any comments by the public, seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board. And do we do motion on both items at the same time, or do we do one one each.
Do the
Separate.
minor amendment first and then follow.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I move minor amendment case number 2002 be approved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve minor amendment case number 20-02. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'll make a motion on the second one, rezoning case number 20-07 for approval.
Second.
There's a motion on rezoning case number 20-07 to be approved, and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3, minor amendment case number 20-01. Go ahead.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Porches and members of the board. Juan Leal Rubio, Senior Planner with the Planning and Zoning Division. This is minor amendment case number 20-01. Also, this is similar to Javier's case. This minor amendment should run concurrently with a rezoning case. The minor amendment should be approved prior to the rezoning if it does get approved. This is minor amendment case number 20-01. This is a request to change the land use designation of a parcel of 41.67 gross acres in size from agricultural rural preservation and suburban density residential to agricultural rural residential. This is located.
Mr. Rubio, hold on. Should I open item number 4 too? If it's.
You're going to want to address them simultaneously that we can just roll into the
The rolling too,
like we did
so.
last time.
So yeah, I'll go ahead and minor amendment case number 20, and item number 4, rezoning case number 20-05. Sorry about that, Rubio.
No problem. Located in the Dome Valley Welton Planning Area at 10271 South Avenue 3080. And this is to accommodate the rezoning of the property from RA 40 to RA 10. As you can see here, crosshatch parcel 6, currently designated suburban density and agro preservation. This is the site plan proposed by the applicant that shows how they plan to split the property. This is aerial imagery, mostly open desert. This is looking east at the subject parcel. And there's been no comments in support or opposition of this proposal. And the commission is recommending approval of this minor amendment because the amendment is consistent with the existing character of the Dome Valley Welton Planning Area, and the amendment would be an overall improvement to the plan. And this is also in character with existing land uses and policies of the plan. That concludes minor amendment 20-01. We'll present rezoning case number 20-05. This is also a request to rezone property, the suburb property from RA 40 to RA 10 in the Dome Valley Welton Planning Area. And this is to create 3 parcels of 10 acres of 10 acres in size. No less than 10 acres, in fact. Again, that's the case map, mostly RA 40. Everything in green is RA 40. The little corner up to the northwest is R140 within the Citrus City Estates number 2. Parcel 33 contains a RV, 34 is vacant. Proposal. This is looking east from County 10th Street, which is one of the main access roads to the property. Looking north from Avenue 3080. No comments. And the commission is recommending approval. Staff is also recommending approval with the following performance condition that within 60 days of approval by the board, they provide an ARS 121134 waiver, they record an agriculture disclosure statement, and an infrastructure disclosure statement. And that concludes the rezoning case.
Is there any questions for Mr. Rubio?
Citrus City, is that the one that has never developed?
Chairman, Supervisor McLeod, that is developed.
That
People
is
can go in there and
developed.
get permits, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Rubio? Thank you, Mr. Rubio. I'll go ahead and open it up to the public. If anybody from the public that wishes to comment or has any concerns, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board.
Mr. Chairman, or Vice Chair, I recommend approval of the minor amendment case 20-01.
There's a motion and a second to recommend approval for the minor amendment case number 20-01. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Rezoning case number 2005, is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve rezoning case number 20-05 approval.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second to approve rezoning case number 20-05. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Rubio. We'll move on to item number 5. El Rancho Encanto Phase 2B subdivision, modification of subdivision regulations. Go ahead, Mr. Rubio.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Juan Leal Rubio, Senior Plan with Planning Zone Division. This is El Rancho Encantado Phase 2B, a request for modifications. The applicant is requesting 2 modifications from the Yuma County subdivision regulations for the proposed El Rancho Encantado Phase 2 subdivision, which is located at the northwest corner of Cassidy Avenue and 50th Street in Yuma. The first modification being requested is a modification from section 4.15C. This is a request to provide pavement 24 feet in width in lieu of pavement 30 feet in width for 50th Street and Hunter Avenue to match the previously approved plat layout. The engineering department is recommending approval of this request since the board approved the modifications request for the previous phase road alignment of the subdivision. This would be in par with what's already been approved. This is the plat submitted by the applicant. The tenant map was approved by the commission back in May. And as you can see, Hunter and 50th Street is what's being requested for modification. And modification number 2 is a modification from section 4.22A, which is sidewalks. The request is to not construct sidewalks throughout the development. We're talking interior sidewalks. The engineering department recommends denial of this request. Engineering staff received many complaints from residents regarding the lack of sidewalks, especially in the foothills area. This is same plat, so just imagine the interior sidewalks is what they're being requested to not construct. They're requesting not to construct. The planning commission recommended that approval of both modifications requested by the developer be approved. That concludes staff's presentation.
Now,
Any questions for Mr. Rubio?
Mr. Vice Chair, are there sidewalks in the other phase, in the other part?
Phase 1.
Phase 1?
Mr. Vice Chair, Supervisor Brancazzi, no, there are not any sidewalks in the previous phases. They were approved under the previous subdivision regulations, which did not require construction of sidewalks prior to 2008.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Rubio? When you say complaints for sidewalks, is this from in other developments in other areas, or?
I would like to defer that question, Mr. Vice Chair, to Arturo Alvarez with engineering.
Arturo Alvarez, Engineering Division. We do get complaints from residents as far as the lack of sidewalks on some of the subdivisions, especially in the new ones. So we try to be consistent as far as recommending for the developer to build the sidewalks in all developments.
Just let me how many developments have we, or has there been since they changed in 2008?
I believe we did planning did some research, and I believe the number is 0.
So this would be the first one? All right. Any other questions for Mr. Alvarez? Thank you. Any questions do we have for the the applicant is here, huh? Representative, or do we have any questions for him?
Questions for them?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi there.
Mr. Vice Chairman, fellow
I
supervisors.
don't think I have a question. I mean, I think I obviously understand the request regarding the sidewalks, but I'm not inclined to go along with it, sorry.
Craig Colvin Engineering, 6105 East Alyssa Lane. Let me try to explain a little more why. I know it sounds odd because we put sidewalks in everything we do now. Again, this was one big project that was approved way back when. Everything was built without sidewalks. This project was actually built itself. There are curbs, there's ABC, there's water and sewer in it. It was developed. The only thing that didn't get put in was the asphalt to finish the project. And so they're asking just to complete the project the way it was. It didn't have sidewalks approved originally with the original request. And there's going to be more phases to the south, which are going to have sidewalks. They just like to complete what's built there and have it done and moved. That's kind of why the Planning Commission approved it, just because it is an existing built project except for asphalt.
I have a question, Mr.
Go ahead.
So you're gonna have to tear up curbs and stuff if we put in sidewalks?
No, I don't know that we'd have to tear it up. It's just a completed project without sidewalks because it was built with phase. It's actually, there was phase one to the right here, to the east, and then this was all phase two, and it was pretty much all built, but they didn't finish this, so they split it up into phase A and phase B. And so it was all built, and they didn't get to the paving on this is all, and they didn't, they didn't have sidewalks, and so that's kind of why they're asking. They just want it to go through and wrap it up as best they can right now.
So it's not really inside the subdivision itself, the sidewalks, it's just finishing the perimeter road up around it, more or less,
Well,
150th.
asphalt, yeah.
There's no asphalt on the inside?
Yeah, there's ABC, and the water and sewer facilities are in. They've been tested. In fact, we went out just recently, the last 2 weeks, and tested everything to make sure it's all working and ready to go to be approved for a final plat.
Mr. Vice Chairman?
Go ahead.
To clarify, Mr. Colvin, you could go in and pour sidewalk on the inside of the existing curb, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then, I can't pin you down, I know, but just in an educated guess, what would that add to the cost of an average home there? Because you're not going to pay for it, the buyer is. That's
Right.
just the way things work.
Right. It's just that the sidewalks don't connect anywhere else. There's no sidewalks to the north, to the east. But as
What
far
would
as
it
the
cost each
cost,
home?
60 by 4 foot sidewalk, $5,000 probably added to that.
That much?
Well, you're talking 4 foot by 60 to 80 feet. So you got 3,200 square feet times $2 a square foot. That's very, could be much more than that, but that's a
Okay.
conservative estimate.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a chunk.
And it's site-built homes?
Yes, they are site-built homes. Very nice subdivision.
Any other questions for?
No.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I'll go ahead and open it up to the public hearing. Anybody from the public that wishes to comment? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board. Any other comments or?
Yeah, I have a comment.
Go ahead.
I guess. I appreciate the explanation. I mean, I understand, and for this one, it makes sense, but I would recommend to the board that going forward, that we have sidewalks in all subdivisions, I mean, regardless of the reason. There's just too much rationale there to go back and require them at this point.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the bike lanes.
Yeah.
Going forward,
Any
we
other,
need to do things differently.
any other comment?
And this one, they're just finishing.
So Mr. Vice Chair and Mr. Colville, on the other side of 50th Street, that set would have sidewalks. But the ones to the east and the ones to the north, the subdivisions to the east and the north right now don't have sidewalks either.
They're pretty much completely developed.
Are they all finished?
Vice Chairman, Supervisor Pancrezi, I got a list of, out of the hundreds, and again, I wasn't involved with all those, but there's hundreds of lots. There's only like 20 to 30 lots that are not developed, that are partially under construction right now. They're going fast.
Is there sidewalks on 50th Street and Hunter Avenue? No. Not on the
Major thoroughfare?
So there isn't, okay. All right, thank you.
Mr. Vice Chair?
Yes.
It's really hard for me to not require sidewalks, but at the same time.
And it, yeah, go ahead.
What, Mr. Colville, what are these houses renting, price-wise?
Mr. Vice Chairman, Supervisor Pancrezi, I don't know. I'm not involved with the real estate part of it at all, but I know that they're nice homes. They're very nice homes.
Over 2,000 square feet homes?
I think that'd probably be average, yes.
The average is 2,000 square feet?
The lots, one of the things that came up in the Planning and Zoning Commission was the size of some of these lots. You know, there's a stipulation that sidewalks are not required for certain size lots. As you see, there's a lot of lots that are well over that threshold where sidewalks are not required anyway. In subdivisions, the subdivision regulations do not require sidewalks when lots are over that certain size. So many of the lots are over that size.
But
their decision.
But I think since in 2008 when they changed that changed, so now every lot requires sidewalks. So yeah, regardless of it, if that was before 2008. So so thank you. No, that I'm not. I'm just any of it.
No, thank you.
And I'm on the same boat. I mean, I'll say I leaned because was already established or kind of that it wasn't required, but when when I hear that statement that sidewalks don't lead anywhere, well, they do, because a lot of people use the sidewalks just to go around the neighborhood. They might not go to the store, but they lead within the neighborhood there. That's where a lot of people walk. So that statement that doesn't lead, I mean, it leads back to my house. If I would take the sidewalk and go around the sidewalk, it's going to lead back to my house. So, but I understand, and it is expensive, but I would, say to the board that sometimes when we ask our staff to change the rules, and then if we don't follow them, then we put them in a position that it's hard. They don't know if we're coming or going, and so so with this, I'll go ahead and if there's none other
Public hearing.
Yeah, I did that. I'll go ahead and take a motion.
Mr. Vice Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the Phase 2 modifications to Rancho Encanto, less requiring the sidewalks in this instance. But I agree with Supervisor McLeod. Phase 3, 4 on down the road, they knew sidewalks need to be included. Since we're just trying to finish up what's already there.
You accepted both modifications. That was your motion. I'll second it.
There's a motion and a second to approve of Rancho Encanto Phase 2B subdivision, modifications of subdivision regulations. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Say aye. Any opposed?
No.
And one no. Any further discussion or, okay. Motion, it's
Carries.
approved. Thank you. Moving on to rezoning and reversion public hearings. Item number 1, rezoning case number 05-76. Mr. Barraza.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairman, and members of the board. Javier Barraza, Senior Planner, presenting rezoning case number 05-76 in accordance with Section 404.01 I-7 of the Yuma County Zoning Ordinance. Action to grant an extension of time to comply with the schedule for development or cause the property to revert to its former rural area 10-acre minimum zoning classification. This is the current zoning map showing the subject parcel, cross-hatching highlighted. Parcel is accessed on south along County 17th Street alignment, and it's under the 65 decibel noise zone. This is the original map back in 2005. And this is the concept map for what the owner and agent at the time wanted to do, is split the property into four 2.5 acre parcels. This is the aerial view. Outlined in blue is the subject parcel, probably April 2017. The outstanding schedule for development is as follows. The subject property shall be split by recorded deeds and develop according to the site plan submitted, including obtain foot easement along all irrigation structures for access, for operation and maintenance. Each lot created shall be a maximum of 1 point of ingress and egress to County 17th Street. And also that access easement should be improved to standard B, which is penetration and chip seal, in accordance with Yuma County standards. Also, all resulting lots from proposed split shall be provided with means of ongoing irrigation, and that a letter from Unit B Irrigation District shall be submitted stating that irrigation system is installed and individual lots will have access to irrigation water. Current status, the original deadline to comply with the schedule for development was January 17, 2006. There's been 2 time extensions granted by this board, one on June 4, 2012, and one on April 2, 2018. As of today, the schedule for development has not been complied with. Staff sent a certified mail to the original agent and the current owner. We got the card that the original agent just received the notification, but it was a funny message on the envelope. The current owners, the post service put refuse. So I got that. It was postal service was unable to deliver that letter, so it says like it was refused, whatever that means. Maybe they didn't want to take it. The Board of Supervisors has the following options: grant an extension of time to comply with the schedule for development, revert the zoning to its original rural area 10-acre zoning classification. At this time, staff recommends reverting the zoning to its original rural area 10-acre zoning classification. Mr. Chairman, this concludes this presentation.
Mr. Vice Chairman?
Go ahead.
Would you please, Javier, go back to the map?
The zoning map or the?
It would be the zoning and vicinity map.
Okay, that one. This is.
Yes. So it's within the 65 decibel zone, right?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Would they be allowed that same split and zoning today in the 65 dB?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The land use is still the same. It will support.
Would be the same, right?
Yes.
Okay, I thought so. And could it be split any further than the 5 lots?
They're proposing 4 lots.
Or 4.
But yeah, if it's 10 acres, they can still do 5 of 2 acres. But at that time, they decided to go 2.5. So 4 of 2.5. So if it's 10 acres.
They could do 5 twos.
Yes.
So if we leave it like it is, it's more restrictive.
As far as the city, yes, Mr. Chairman, it'll be just a minute.
You know, given the current climate, I'm kind of inclined just to leave it like it is. Why did staff recommend reversion? Just because it's been so long?
Then this is the third time
Yeah.
we're going for it, so
That's
nothing's
understandable.
going on. And the fact that the current owner did not contact staff, and I see that note on the envelope, I don't know what to make of it, other than not interested. Maybe.
Well, maybe they should have been.
Mr. Vice Chair,
Go ahead.
does it have a new owner? Is that one?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Pancrazzi. New ownership.
The ownership has changed.
Yes, it changed in 2018.
Is it in any production right now?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not really sure if it is. Did I use aerial photography but I didn't do a site visit.
It's on County 17, and it's probably in alfalfa. Yeah.
Probably.
Probably is, right?
So,
Yes.
so they contact you, the new owner contact you?
No,
So
they
refused.
We tried in the certified mail, and they
Uh-huh.
refused to take that letter.
Oh, okay.
Notifying it, this is, we have several notification systems in place. The assessor has a note on the parcel saying that there's some outstanding, development standards, contact, development services, planning and zoning.
Mhm.
Also in-house development services, we have like 2 more notification levels. So, but they should, I think by that, they should know what they have. But the staff, as long as I know, was not contact even, when they
Mhm.
couldn't research the property.
And obviously, especially if a new owner came in, and I mean, I would imagine they would want to find out
course.
what's.
That's
you know,
usually typical, that's what they do.
If there is some interest in it, see, if not, then yeah.
I'd be inclined to give them a 10-year extension.
So he doesn't come back.
You need to pay attention to the
Especially
property
since
owner.
it falls in that 65.
Now that
Yeah,
it's
because
in
that can actually,
65,
it's
they-
now
they
4,
may
it can
wanna
go to
come-
5.
Mr. Chair, now that it is in the 65, and they may want to come in and rezone it to 2-acre parcels instead of 2.5-acre parcels, I would consider extending it a long time just so that we don't get more people living out there.
Mr. Vice Chairman.
Go ahead.
Supervisor Pancrazzi, they will need to still split it into 4. That's their schedule for development. They need to divide it as they propose, the original owner.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
even, they couldn't do,
No, they will probably try to rezone it, but I don't know. See, we're dealing with was approved by the board back then, and it was just to create 4. And the item, if I go back, the site plan submitted. What was approved? The site plan submitted is for 2.5-acre lots.
okay.
Yeah.
So if, Mr. Chair, so even if we deny their extension, they'd still only be able to divide it into 4.
Yeah.
No.
4 parcels.
No, they will need to. If this board grant an extension of time, they decide to comply with the schedule for development, they will need to create that for 2.5-acre lots.
But if we revert it,
They
then
have
they
the
can
chance.
go back to 5. Right?
Potentially.
Yeah.
They could go back to having 2-acre parcels,
Right.
5-acre, 2-acre.
Yeah.
And still meet the standard.
And still meet the standards. Okay, that was my question, yeah.
That's why, hence my comment.
Yeah, hence my comment, let's extend it so that they can't divide it any smaller.
Mr. Chairman, if may I add, in case, let's say, current owners is unaware and comes to apply for a building permit for the 10 acres, the won't be able to get it because there's some outstanding conditions on the parcel. So it's either we revert it so they can develop with 1 home and 10 acres, or they can reapply for a rezoning and bring it from this board.
Mhm.
Right.
All right. I have.
Could they come in and go to SSB 2 from what it is now? They could come in and request that, right?
Maggie wants to make a comment here.
Chairman, Maggie Castro, Planning and Zoning Director. So the zoning is reverted. The new owners or a future owner could request rezoning of the property, again, from RA10 to SSB2 and submit a site plan that divides or splits the property into lots of 2 acres.
Right.
The previous owners requested lots or submitted a site plan for
10
lots of 2.5 acres in size. So if the zoning is, if an extension is granted, they're required to develop the property based on the site plan that was submitted back in 2005.
Oh, would they? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, they couldn't just come in and go to 5.2s. They could come in and request a rezoning to SSB2 from the current zoning, though, could they not?
That's if the zoning is reverted.
Only if it's reverted.
Yes. The current
Interesting.
zoning is SSB2. If the zoning is reverted, they could come back and request SSB2 again with a site plan that shows lots of 2 acres in size.
Okay, so an extension locks them into 4.
Yes.
But also I think if it's if they come in for a 2 acre, I don't think the width is, or the because they're probably going to use entrance on egress on 17. So if they did if they wanted a 2, they would have to go east and west, huh? So then they go into that's other challenge of
And
getting
that
a
would
road.
require an access road as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, it would require an access road if they were for 2.
Mr. Chairman, under the current requirements for SSB2, they could, if the zoning is reverted and then the new owners come back and request another rezoning and submit a site plan for 5 lots of 2 acres in size, they could still develop with the same configuration.
Same configuration?
It's just that they'd be long.
Okay, it'd be
Yeah,
it
because
wouldn't be
it'd be less than
165,
what the
yeah,
zoning was.
which is. All right. Well, at least for me, I think, we asked staff to start reverting some of the, and if we keep giving extensions, I mean, it defeats the purpose of some of this area. So, I mean, I think they still have to apply, and it's still up to us either we say yes or no. So.
Mr. Chair, I move.
But I think I'll open it up to the public. I'll go ahead and see none, and I'll bring it back to the board. Any other comments or questions?
No questions.
Okay.
Mr. Vice Chair, I move that we revert and do what the staff says and revert it back to a 10-acre rezoning case number 0576 and not grant the extension.
There's a motion. Is there a second? I'll second it. To accept the staff's recommendation for rezoning case number 05-76. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
3-1.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Motion carries.
Can't believe you went for more density.
Oh, they won't.
Moving on to, thank
Yeah, but
you.
it meets the standards.
We'll do calendars and events, and then we'll move on to executive session.
Now we need to hear from Mr. Worley first.
Or do we want?
Mr. Chairman, for the public to be aware, you're going to reopen consent item number 9 for public discussion. And then if you feel like you need still legal opinion provided and you want to do it in executive session, we can meet at that point.
We go ahead and complete
All
the
right.
events calendar now? Okay.
Let's
want the
finish
public to realize
events.
we're still
and
gonna
so
open that back.
We'll start with you, Ms. Lynn, Supervisor.
Okay. I attended the weekly co-ed meeting. I read at the library for Christmas in July. They're doing a virtual Christmas in July. I read for that. I was on Senator Setima's phone call. I attended the YMPO meeting, the Hospice of Yuma meeting, and the public hearing by ADQ for the Yuma ozone SIP, and I attended the Yuma 50s meeting.
Mr. Supervisor McLeod?
I attended electronically Governor Ducey's press conference, and I also contributed greatly to the tax base in San Diego.
Thank you.
All I have.
I sit in on a couple of conference calls, and that's about it.
Thank you. I attended YMPO meeting and well through the phone, and I've been leaving all my money here in Yuma County. So, Susan.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. I attended the several meetings. I also was gone for a week, and I do appreciate your condolences on my family's loss. The GYPA board meeting was held last week, and I'll be going to sign some papers to do the loan refinancing through First Bank Yuma. That will be executed this afternoon. That's all I have to report.
All right. Well, I'll go ahead and we'll go back to consent calendar item number 9, and we'll hear from Mr. Worley how many properties we have out there.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. So let's begin with the Hyder School District. In Hyder, there is 5,940 parcels.
Slow down, Joe. You caught me off guard.
Okay.
Hyder.
9,000? No, 5,940 parcels.
Thank you.
Okay. We are looking at, there's a reduction that has to be made to the February abstract numbers that were provided to you because of this this settlement with Agua Caliente. There was Agua Caliente for 2020, their assessment or assessed value was reduced by $6,347,880. 6347880. So that reduces their overall net assessed value, which was at $61,258,998. That will reduce it down to $54,911,118. Okay. And so all of my calculations that I've made for tax rate changes or tax rate impact is based upon this new number, okay? All right, so moving on with that, Hyder has two different funds that we levy for. They have an operation and maintenance fund, and then they have an additional assistance fund, which is used to be capital, South Capital and Capital. It's now just one fund. Anyway, the impact of all tax years from this settlement to the Hyder School District in their O&M budget is $707,363.43. That's the impact.
707 what?
707,363.43.
Got it.
Okay. If they were to levy for that impact all in one tax year in this the 2020 year, it will increase their primary tax rate by 1.2882.
It's going to be an average.
$118.
I didn't do that much math to
okay.
figure out what the average was.
I'm doing that right now.
Okay.
Joe, what is the current tax rate? You said it would add to.
I don't know what the current tax rate is. We haven't gotten that far in the process yet.
Yeah.
We're 2 months ahead of that right now. So I have not seen any of the school district numbered tax rates yet. So that typically the school superintendent doesn't provide those to me until 1.2882 would be the tax. That would be the tax rate for just that refund.
So whatever you get, that'll be
Whatever,
on.
yeah, whatever the O&M comes out to, you'll add 1.2882 to it, and that's what the tax rate would end up being for that district. On the additional assistance side, it's not quite as much because the amount of the impact was $26,154.49. And that has the effect of adding 0.0476 to that tax rate.
I'm thinking it's gonna be probably between from 80 to about $200 per the average. Yeah, depends on the size or value of
Yeah,
each.
not nearly as bad.
So it's not
Afraid.
It's
What
not
about
the
the other districts?
And Antelope is the only other district that's really affected by this. Okay, their assessed value in originally in February was 108,076,448. Okay, and the reduction that doesn't look right. Just verify that again. It's hard to do this on a calculator from off your phone.
I'm sorry, Joe, what was that number?
108,076,448 minus 6347,880. Okay. This is going to be, these are not going to be the right numbers because, but it's going to be close. It's going to be fairly close. Okay.
This is for Antelope, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Antelope has 15,240 parcels.
15,240, okay.
Joe had said that to me earlier.
I'm sorry. That's correct. 15,240.
Okay.
which is way less on that one.
Yeah.
Impact, yeah.
Yeah, the impact will be less. Nice.
Well, I kind of wish it was the other way around because Hyder's a lot poorer out there in the east part.
So the tax rate impact, if I did this right, we just verify it back the other way.
I was just looking at raw
Nice.
dollars. That's what I was really interested in.
Yes, the impact would be about 51 cents on the tax rate, would be roughly 51 cents on the O&M budget. And on the additional assistance budget, which is the impact is $16,845.91. So the tax rate there will be 0.016.
Okay.
I just think we saw the big number, and I honestly thought it was maybe 400, 500 properties, but it's obviously a lot more. So yeah, the impact would be
And this,
a lot
this
more.
is a 1-year payoff.
So
This would be a 1 year. Correct.
all right, well,
That's what worried me when I saw it. Just
thank you, Mr. Worley.
what's this going to run?
Yeah.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah.
I think the
Question-
largest impact will be under 200 a year.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, question for you and the county attorney. Did the school superintendent submit this to the Property Tax Oversight Committee, Carolyn?
No,
Have you-
we have to get it approved.
You have to get it approved by them first, and then it goes to PTOC. Okay. Your February number right now is overstated by $6 million.
Right, and you gave us the new numbers. So
Correct? Okay.
I did a preliminary on Hyder because I have their proposed budget for this year,
Mhm.
but I do not have Antelope's yet.
Mhm. Thank you, Joe.
All right, thank you.
That helped a lot. Thank you.
Definitely.
Yep, it helped a whole lot.
Took some of the bite away.
All right. Item number
I'm
9
good.
on any other comments or questions?
No, I don't think I have a need for the executive at this point. I
Uh-huh.
have some ideas. I'm thinking, we're looking at $1,000 or more per property.
Yeah,
The
no.
number was large and it was
Yeah.
large. But there's so many parcels that breaks it down. Of course, these are just averages.
Yeah.
Some are going to be $400.
Yeah.
Well, that's what
And some
worries
will
me.
be 80, but-
That's the reason I wanted to pull it, because I was looking, I was thinking it's gonna be a huge number.
I think, and that's what's always helpful about getting, getting the facts. You make a more informed decision.
Thank you, Tom, for coming back, and if we had any questions, and you too, thanks. So I'll bring back to consent calendar item number 9.
I'll make a motion that we approve item number 9 as presented.
There's a motion and a second to approve item number 9 on consent calendar. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.